And today I'm talking to Ali Miller. Ali Miller is an integrative functional medicine practitioner with a background in naturopathic medicine. She's a registered and licensed dietitian, certified diabetes educator, and has contagious passion for food as medicine, developing clinical protocols and virtual programs using nutrients and food as the foundation of treatment. Her food as medicine philosophy is supported by up-to-date scientific research for a functional approach to healing the body. Ali's message has influenced millions through media with television segments, features in O, Women's Health and Prevention magazine, her award-winning podcast, Naturally Nourished, and within the medical community. Ali's expertise can be accessed through her website, www.alimillerrd.com, offering her blog, award-winning podcast, virtual learning, and access to her practice, Naturally Nourished. Welcome, Ali, and thank you so much for being part of our summit.
It's my pleasure. I'm so excited to be here today.
Thank you. And the topic of our interview today is the importance of detox for weight loss. We will talk about the process of detoxification, how to understand if it's impaired, and how to support it. And do it without harming ourselves, which I think some detoxification programs can actually do.
Yes. And the programs that are actually supported by scientific study versus there's also a lot of buzzworthy things that may grab your attention, but maybe not get true biochemical cleanse or actual outcome in the body.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So we can start with the important question of what is detoxification?
Sure. So yes, the body is, of course, created to do much work. We have miraculous influence from the function of our body. And my work as a functional medicine practitioner is always looking at, for each individual, why they're experiencing a symptom of imbalance. So we look at things like chronic fatigue or joint pain or dermatological or skin conditions, as well as digestive distress, migraine headaches, infertility and hormone imbalance. And there can be many reasons of why these conditions occur. We can look at things like inflammation. We can look at things like micronutrient deficiency, but detox or hindered detoxification process or excess toxic exposure or toxic buildup in the body can often be one of those root causes that drives many chronic conditions. So in our body, our liver and our kidneys are the primary organs that work to cleanse our blood. And we provide detox within that liver, filtering a quart of blood every minute. So very rapid filtration we're looking at. And the liver is passing off the nutrients from the foods we consume and packaging those nutrients. I call the liver like the postal service of the body. It kind of gets all of the absorption from the gut, and then it determines what is friend and what is foe. So it takes the good nutrients and the things that the body needs and delivers different compounds to different tissues. So it might say, okay, calcium, we're going to send you into the bone tissue, and CoQ10 enzyme, we're going to send you to the cardiovascular system, or B vitamins, we're going to send you to the brain to make good neurotransmitters. But when the liver sees toxins, it tries to hand those off to the kidneys, where the kidneys then filter the blood and convert into urine. And hopefully, many of the water-soluble toxins that we're exposed to are excreted out safely through our urine or through our body's sweat in also a fluid release. And then some toxins, especially more of the fat-soluble toxins, those are going to be excreted back through our colon, through stool or fecal matter. So we can actually detox through our breath, through our sweat, through our urine, and through our feces. But often when the body's overburdened based on the many sources of toxins, which we'll get into today, the liver and kidneys aren't able to drive the process on an efficient manner. And so the excess toxins get shuttled into our body fat. So our body says, we don't have time to deal with this, or we're too overwhelmed, or we don't have the nutrients to drive the detox process. we're going to take these toxins and shuttle them into fat, and then we're going to add more body fat to store and protect them from your organ tissue, because we know these toxins can do damage. So as a defense mechanism, we can actually see body fat gain and hindered metabolism when we're exposed to excess toxins, or when the body is overburdened with that detox process.
Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting that the toxins are actually that cannot be excreted, that they are stored in the fat tissue, right, and not
Right.
in the liver, because sometimes people confuse these things. They think
Yes.
that.
Yes. So, the liver can also be, like I said, it can be distressed, and we can definitely we see in all kind of, when we're eating these processed foods, especially any things that have the high fructose corn syrup or the refined sugars, we do see a higher rise of fatty liver, where the liver itself as a gland actually starts to create this fat buildup to try to protect itself. And we call fructose in its very refined form a hepatotoxin, or a liver toxin itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so so the liver itself, yes, can have that same mechanism. But when I'm talking in broad scope about the process of detox being sluggish, that can create fatty deposits throughout the body. So beyond even cellulite and tissue that we may not be as appealing for looks, we can actually see chronic illness, because we know the buildup of body fat drives metabolic syndrome, which would mean higher risk for heart disease and diabetes, as well as cancer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what can go wrong with the detoxification process?
Well, so I guess let's talk about maybe the phases of detox and then what's needed.
Yeah.
So, the first process. So the first thing to understand is, like I said, the body naturally does do this. And many doctors or practitioners that aren't knowledgeable on this functional integrative medicine, or didn't learn about the biochemistry of detox in their training, they have a very naive thought process of, you have a liver and kidneys, you don't need to do a detox.
Yeah.
But they're not educated on the fact that, or don't wrap their mind around the concept that in industrialized modern society, our exposure is dramatic, highly increased from what we were exposed to 100 years prior and 200 years prior. And so when the body was created thousands of years ago, it was very efficient at doing this process. But now we see industrialized chemicals, air pollutants, and the compounds in the food system. And there are many drivers that are overburdening our process. And so the body, and maybe do you want me to go a little deeper into the forms of toxins in the body first? Or how?
Yeah. We're gonna actually start with the phases, and then.
Okay,
Yep.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
So there's many phases. There's actually 3 phases of detox. So the first phase is going to be predominantly relying on the liver. So this image shows us some of the foods that support this process. So the metabolic processes of detox are activation, which is phase 1 in the liver. And activation requires making the fat-soluble toxins that were dormant and stored away active, and making them more water soluble so that the body can process them. And so activation requires a lot of biochemical process. Some of the terms are hydroxylation, and there's very geeky terms. But long story short, what we're basically doing is activating or turning on these toxins that were once dormant, because we need to activate them in order to excrete them out of the body. So the first phase occurs predominantly in the liver, and we do need to be at a low calorie status to upregulate our detox process. So the body does need to be what would be called hypocaloric, so that it's in the mode of catabolism or breakdown. If you're eating at too many calories, the body's not going to go into that cleansing and the activation mode. So we do need to restrict calories to help to drive that. And then there are many nutrients specifically that are going to support the liver. So we're looking at vitamin A, which is a great fat-soluble nutrient that we're looking at supporting that liver function. We're looking at B vitamins, and we're looking at glutathione, which is a grandmama or granddaddy antioxidant, with vitamin C being like the little kid cousin. Glutathione is the highest potent antioxidant, and it is preceded by something called cysteine. And those sulfur-containing compounds are found in like our broccoli, our cauliflower. We see this beautiful, this is naturally colored rainbow cauliflower. So a lot of phytocompounds or plant-based antioxidants we get, and we're looking for a little bit of sulfur in phase 1, a lot of sulfur in phase 2. And then the antioxidants we get from our nuts and seeds, our citrus for vitamin C support. We're also looking at getting quality protein sources. So we're looking at branched chain amino acids from your grass-fed meats, your wild-caught fish. And these really ensure that in that mode of breakdown, you protect and spare your muscle, but you're going to select to lose from fat. So it's important we keep the carbohydrate foods moderate to low during a detox, only relying on the carbohydrates that are seen in the berries and the citrus. And then we may rely on some beans to help with that soluble fiber as well.
Mm-hmm. So how many calories should you aiming to eat? Or how hypocaloric should your diet be during detox?
So during detox, we want to be, we like to assess in my clinic your basal metabolic rate with a impedance analysis. So this is a type of scale that actually runs an electrical impulse through the body and tells us, based on our pounds of lean body mass, how much calorie we're burning. There's also different machines like the BOD Pod where we're submerged in water to do that, but those can be pricey and may not be accessible for all viewers. So something you can do is, take your weight on the scale, and then you might want to look at your ideal body weight, which for women, we start with 100 pounds, and then we add 5 pounds per inch. So we'd be looking at the base of 125 pounds for a female that is 5'5", for example.